What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Going for Two. I am Keywan Humphreys. The New York Knicks. New York Knicks keep their season alive with a 111-94 victory over Indiana Pacers in Game 5 at the Garden. Man, I don't know about y'all, but I do not like seeing home, or no, maybe it's not the fact that I don't like seeing it, but I like when teams win an elimination game at home. Because like the fans, bro, the energy in elimination games at home are just, you can't match them. You can't match them. Whether it's a game 7 where it's 3-3, or whether the home team is down, or even like we saw last night where the home team is up. Like the teams, the fans don't care what the deficit is, what the lead is in the series. They're there for that game, and for that game they're going to be the loudest fans possible. The New York Knicks played at the Garden. They went 0-2 so far this series at the Garden, and then you would think they had the greatest home court advantage of all time, the way them fans were tonight. We got Landry Shamet chants. Of course, we got Nixon 7 chants. They're actually probably wilding out as I record this video up in New York. But besides all that, I want to talk about the New York Knicks and what they did to kind of win this game. First and foremost, I want to say that they came out with a different kind of intensity on the defensive end. They really got into every single ball. The ball pressure that we see from the Indiana Pacers that they were putting on New York Knicks, the New York Knicks put that same ball pressure back on the Pacers this game. You know, and they really took control, took this game by the throat early in this one, and really just held on to it all the way through. Shout out Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, 32 points, 12 for 18 from the field. He came out, had a quick 13 points in that first quarter. The third quarter had another great quarter where he dominated the game and really helped the Knicks put the game out of reach, per se. I don't even know there's no such thing as out of reach, especially in this series and in this playoffs. But helped put the game out of reach for the most part. Karl-Anthony Towns, I'm gonna keep it a beam with y'all. I said it at the end of the first, after game one. I said it after game one. I said Brunson and Towns should really have their way offensively throughout this whole series. And as far as like the point total, yes, that's been the case. But yeah, Brunson's kind of had he had a rough game 2 and a rough game 3. But Karl-Anthony Towns, I realized that they have no answer for Karl-Anthony Towns. You know, there's no matchup that they can put on him. Miles Turner, which would be, I guess, the ideal matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns, his feet is too slow, and Karl-Anthony Towns is just driving by him or beating him off the dribble. Everyone else is just too small. And in tonight's game, we once again saw Karl-Anthony Towns pretty much have his way. Finished with 24 points, 13 rebounds. I think that is his eighth. They said his eighth 20-10 game this playoffs. You know, so if Karl-Anthony Towns is the ultimate mismatch for this New York Knicks team. And we saw when Brunson checked out, the guys came in and they ran the offense through KAT. KAT was at the top of the key, throwing his passes, no-look passes. He was in the post, attracting double teams and then scoring when it's one-on-one, and even scoring when it's double teams sometimes. He was hitting threes. They were getting out in transition, pushing the pace. You know, I think Karl-Anthony Towns has to be the focal point as much as he can be, because Jalen Brunson is still phenomenal offensively, as we saw tonight. But if Karl-Anthony Towns can be more of a focal point in the offense, there's nothing that the Pacers can do. Nothing. You know, get the balls to him in the post. They have to send too. Get the balls to him at the elbow. They have to send some kind of help. That's how you get open looks. You know, we saw tonight Brunson was getting paint touches and kicking it out to open shooters all game long. They didn't hit too many of Jalen Brunson's passes, but it created open looks, open opportunities for the New York Knicks. Now, looking at the Indiana Pacers, they just looked like they didn't really want it. You know, they didn't really want it. You know, once I think it would have been on some, okay, if we can go out and win it, let's go out and win it. But once the Knicks punched them in the mouth early, they kind of backed off. They made a little run at the end of the first quarter. But besides that, it was really all Knicks. Tyrese Halliburton, off of his historical 30, 15, and 12 game, only took 5, 6, 7 shots in an elimination game. You know what I'm saying? Miles Turner was also in single digits. I think every starter was in single figures except for Pascal Siakam, and he didn't even have the best game. You know? And all of those factors added into what was a blowout victory for the Knicks. Another thing I like for the Knicks did a really good job of disrupting the pace. They disrupted the pace. Normally, we know the Pacers. You play the Pacers, it's a track meet. You make a shot, they're off running. You miss a shot, they're off running. The Knicks did it, and I was watching Inside the NBA, and I had to go back and watch it and see if this was really the case. The Knicks did a great job of when they made a shot, they immediately pressed Halliburton. That way, Halliburton was not catching the ball on the run and then really getting the Knicks defense, catching the Knicks defense lacking. So when Halliburton would have to stop and catch the ball and dribble the ball down the court slowly, it would make them go into a half-court offense, which is something they're not. I'm not gonna say they're not the best. I'm not gonna say they're bad at it, but that's just not how they play. You know, the New York Knicks, the Indiana Pacers, run a 7. They're 20-25, 7 seconds or less. That's who they are. You know, and if you take them out of that, it's a lot easier to stop them per se because they don't got too many on-ball creators. You know, Tyrese Halliburton is very, I would say he's very talented creating on the ball, but he's not really a guy that's gonna blow by you all game long. He's not a guy that's gonna. He's shifty now. He's shifty, but that's not really his game. You know, Pascal Siakam, I would say he's really good as well. You know, in terms of creating his own look. But the other guys, you know, they're not really. Nembhard is all right, but Nembhard's been bad for majority of this series. Neesmith is not a creator. Miles Turner's not a creator. So they thrive in getting out and running and then making you pay when you make a mistake in the fast break or in the fast pace, you know. And they really couldn't get to any of that tonight. But we know how it is. We know how it is, you know, when you go home and when the team's up 3-1 and they lose and make it 3-2, the pressure's on that team that's up to finish the series, especially when Game 7 is back at their opponent's house. You know, I listened to how loud the New York Knicks fans were tonight. And I imagine, me, if I was an Indiana Pacer coach or player, I would think we do not want to come back here. Not for a single game elimination. No, sir, no, ma'am. You know, so the pressure is on, to me, the pressure is on Indiana. You know, it's on Indiana to put the series away. You got to put the series away in front of your home fans. Halliburton's dad's going to be back out there. I'm fully anticipating this to be, I mean, I guess I can't say the best game of the series because we had Game 1. But this is going to be the biggest, obviously the biggest game of the series. You know, and I'm not going to overreact to a blowout in a must-win game where one team has to literally give it their all. But the Knicks could have came out and rolled over like the Timberwolves did the other night. But they didn't. And they came out here and they had a blowout win. We see it all the time, yes. But with me on this platform, I have to speak on the possibility. You know, I personally want to see a Game 7. A Game 7 in the Garden, back-to-back seasons. Because think about it, last year this series went 7 games. Pacers were able to come out with the win. I want to see another Game 7 in the Garden. But yeah, man, it was a Knicks beatdown. We'll see what happens in Game 6. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share with y'all folks. Until next time, going for 2. We out of here. Yeah.